Rob, last night, the McDonald's All-American game was on as we were speaking on our show. And LeBron James' son, Bronnie, his oldest son, Bronnie played well, Rob. Hit 5 threes, which was a game high. And also added 4 assists, 2 steals, a game high 4 assists, I might add. And played well, was not the MVP. That went to Isaiah Collier, who's going to USC. He's the number 1 prospect in the country. He had 25. He was co-MVP alongside Kentucky-bound DJ Wagner. You've heard of DJ Wagner. Dad was, DeJuan Wagner, who played in the league for a little while. Was a one and done, if I remember correctly, for Calipari at Memphis. And played in the league briefly, never, fulfilled his promise.
Yeah.
And then his dad was Milt Wagner. You're right. So that's a three generations. So hopefully DJ Milt, Rob, you remember Milt at Louisville, was a great player at Louisville. I believe he was on that national championship team with Purvis Short, if I'm not mistaken.
Never nervous Purvis.
Yep. And but Milt never really reached. He didn't have a great NBA career either, and he was a great college player. And so maybe, hopefully DJ will follow in their footsteps in making it to the league.
That.
But, hopefully he'll reach his full potential, if that potential, he'll be a star. It'd be nice to see, right? Because the other two were supposed to be, and they weren't.
Like I always think of like Bo Kimball. You remember Bo Kimball?
Yep. From Loyola Marymount.
Yeah, it was like
you talking about like players that were great college players.
Yeah, but he didn't. It wasn't like he had a decent career or like even Christian Laettner was a great college player who had a good career. You know what I mean?
He
like Bo Kimball Bo Kimball didn't have a career. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like he couldn't get a shot off in the league.
No. And Loyola Marymount played that wild style, right? Where it was running up and down and shooting quickly and
right.
And Milt didn't have a career either, Rob. He played 53 games.
That's what I mean. Like that's not a career. That's That's a cup of coffee and 2 sweet rolls.
All right, but back to Bronnie. Who it looks like will have a career, and I certainly hope he does. But, Rob, here's the deal. I mentioned these guys. Bronnie, we don't know where he's going yet. We don't know if he's going to play in college. They're keeping everything close to the best, so we will see. But Isaiah Collier and DJ Wagner, they're going to USC and Kentucky, and they were the MVPs. They're blue chippers. Here's what I want to ask you, Rob. In this Final Four. Now, remember, I got to say this because it's just the truth. Before we jump on, this is going to be how it is. We'll see. I mean, it might be. There's certainly reason to think so. But, Rob, last year, it was 4 blue bloods in the Final Four.
Right.
4. Rob G, give me those 4. Can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it was 4 blue bloods in the Final Four. So, let's not be so quick to say it might be a
Okay,
what were the teams, Rob G?
UNC, Duke, Villanova, who is a newfound blue blood,
right,
and Kansas.
Yeah. I mean, that's those are blue bloods. And so we don't know if this is going to be, the way it is going forward or not. But Rob, this year's Final Four, I think I said this yesterday. One player in the entire Final Four is on the mock drafts for the NBA draft coming up.
That's pretty incredible.
And he's lower in the first round. Kid from Connecticut. And there's no one and dones. Most of let me look at, I wrote it down. It was so, like San Diego State, Rob, 4 senior starters, 1 junior. Florida Atlantic, 1 junior, 3 sophomores, and a freshman starter. Miami, a senior, a junior, and 3 sophomores. And UConn, 2 juniors, 1 senior, 1 sophomore, and 1 freshman. 2 freshman starters in the entire Final Four. I want to ask you, do you think if you were a college coach at a top university, would you think it's best to recruit the one and dones? Or would you say, you know what, let me go for the kids that are really good, but they're going to stay 3 years. At least 2. They're not ready to go out right now.
Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to make a run or like hope that they stick around, or they're going to stick around because they're not that good, and make a run and you have some cohesiveness and some chemistry because they've played for multiple years together? Or do you want a chance to win a championship? Because normally in those circumstances, and this is different, 3 out of 4, and if UConn wins, Chris, and easily, then it's just going to validate what we kind of know. Now, if San Diego State wins, or Florida, Florida Atlantic. Yeah, if they win, then we got a different dialogue, and it still could be an anomaly. But the point is, coaches that did not go after the one and dones, Chris, fell by the wayside.
No, right.
Because
who was it? Was it Krzyzewski? That was late to the party?
No, he went. Tom Izzo was late to
right.
Tom Izzo was late to the party, Chris. When Isaiah Thomas only played 1 year for Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight wasn't interested in those guys either.
No, he played 2. He played 2.
Oh, 2. I'm sorry.
2. Right.
But he wasn't interested in those one and done. And he
stopped.
Done.
There were no one and dones back then.
Right.
But, yeah.
But you know what I mean. He stopped winning when those guys started leaving early, and he didn't really want to recruit those guys. But I'm just saying, it's if you're looking to win a championship, I think you want one of those guys. I just do.
The thing is, there have been very few teams. Now, Carmelo, of course, Anthony, led Syracuse to the championship as a freshman. Boeheim's only one. But that was a very veteran-laden team. Hakeem Ward was on that team. He was an upperclassman. Jerry McNamara. They were upperclassmen, Rob, who didn't do anything in the NBA. And Melo was the star. That probably would be the best way to do it, I guess. But then the only other team, Rob, that was led by one and dones that won it was Kentucky when they had Anthony Davis. And they had a couple other one and dones. Rob G, who else was on that team? But yeah, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. They had an all-star team. Like 6 guys got drafted. And the other guys,
round.
and the sophomores were blue chippers too. So that was the team. But Rob, Kevin Durant didn't go deep in the tournament. Michael Beasley. And I know he didn't end up doing anything in the NBA, but he was great in college. He didn't do anything in the tournament. Not as far as winning it. A lot of these Zion, they didn't win it, of course. Steph, he wasn't one and done, but he took him, to the Elite Eight with Davidson. But I'm just saying, and I think you brought up a good point. Like, what's your goal as the college coach?
Right, yeah. What is your goal?
I would think your goal is to win. But I do think, Rob, there are some coaches. Like, I think if I had to nail it down to one thing, I mean, obviously you want to try to develop good character, all the, the things you're supposed to do. But if I had to break it down to one thing, Rob, I would say win. But there are, I think, Rob, coaches. Calipari certainly would fall into this boat. Now, he's trying to win, but guys that I think would just value the relationship, or even just being able to say, I coached so-and-so who went to the NBA and became an all-star. I coached so-and-so who went to the NBA and became a Hall of Famer. And yeah, I want to have a great season, would love to win the championship. But if I go 25-5 and get to the Final Four, the Elite Eight, and he leaves after 1 year, I think some guys might be cool with that. But I think my goal would be to win.
Yeah, my goal would be to win too, and sometimes you just need it. And I hear you. It's not like it's a laundry list of people who were one and done, but you can't give me the list of people who have 4-year seniors, and they won a championship. You know what I mean? With lesser talent.
Villanova's been a school
know.
that's kept guys, 3 and 4 years, and they've won a few championships, recently. They've won a few championships, recently. I do think the teams, I don't have it on paper in front of me, but, having those guys. Now, we're talking about mid-majors this year. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about,
you're talking about, right. You're
stronger
about
programs.
Right.
Gonzaga's they haven't won.
The other schools don't have a choice. Right.
No, right.
The mid-majors don't have a choice.
Nobody yet, Rob, is turning down blue chip.
That's what I mean. Right.
Nobody, and there's nobody saying, I don't want DJ Wagner.
No, I'd rather take the 4-year senior. Who's okay, not great, but he'll be here for 4 years. Right.
Rob G, you said you had a question?
I do have a question because I think you guys agree that if you have the choice, you're going to take the blue chip just because the talent level, maybe the ceiling is higher quicker, right?
Right.
But nowadays, the transfer portal seems to be the quickest way to turn your program around. So I guess the question would be, if you had to choose one, are you taking the one and done type player, like a Brandon Miller type, let's say, or are you taking, that guy from Purdue, Edie, who could be a transfer portal guy? He's a grown man,
right?
And would you rather take him for a year? If your goal is to win a championship,
I'm always
going with the best talent.
Even though this year, Rob, that hasn't played out at all.
It just didn't work this year.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So you think this year's an aberration?
I think it's an aberration.
Gotcha.
I really do. Because it's 3 first-timers, 3 first-timers to the Final Four.
The mid-majors is definitely an aberration. But the older players winning, I don't think that's an aberration. Because, again, there aren't very many, all these one-and-dones who've won championships. You remember when Calipari got beat by Kansas? Mario Chalmers hit the big shot. He was an upperclassman. Derrick Rose was great. Now, they got there, right? So there's something to be said for that. But I probably, look, a superstar talent, a prodigy, I don't know. It's hard to turn that down. It's just hard to turn that down. So you probably got to take them. I would, though. I guess what I do is I got my program. I've got my rules. I've got the way I like to do things. I've got my team concept. And if the one and done won't fit into that, if he's arrogant or thinks he's all that and he's going to want to have the ball in his hands all the time and not play in my system, then I can say I don't need to bring that in. I could do that. But if he's I will give this to Calipari, Rob. At Kentucky, they do buy in. When the stars go there, they do buy in.
Coach, that's the only problem.
Really, he don't win games. He wins games. We don't win championships for the most part.
For all the talent that he's had, it is. You want to talk about wasted talent and one championship? That's that.
He has had incredible talent. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that, and he's only got the one ring. So